I completely misjudged my own child, and the realization nearly cost me everything I had left. Spending 65 years on this earth, I believed I had developed a sharp instinct for human nature. Decades working as a lead architect in Seattle meant I had to read clients, contractors, and city officials. But when you look at your own flesh and blood, your vision blurs. You ignore the warning signs. You rationalize the behavior. That is, until a total stranger forces you to confront the ugly reality you've been sprinting away from. It began on a rainy Tuesday in November. My daughter Sophie called me. That in itself wasn't strange, but the brightness in her tone was. Ever since her mother, Martha, passed away 3 years ago from pancreatic cancer, Sophie had been cold. She would visit for Christmas, make the required check-in calls, but there was always a frantic energy, like she was late for a more important meeting. "Dad, I'm taking a personal day," she chirped. "Let's do something exciting. Just you and me like when I was little." My chest tightened with emotion. This was the Sophie I missed. The little girl who used to sit on my drafting table, coloring in my blueprints, who told everyone her dad built the sky. "What did you have in mind?" I asked. "There's this incredible new wellness center in Bellevue, Tranquil Waters. The partners at the firm can't stop talking about it. I booked us the royal treatment, massage, facial, everything. My treat." I paused. A luxury spa wasn't exactly my environment. But Sophie sounded so engaged, so genuine. I hadn't heard that spark in her voice since before the funeral. "Okay," I said. "What time?" "I'll swing by at 11, Maur." When Sophie pulled into the driveway, she looked like $1,000,000. Cashmere coat, Italian leather boots, a purse that probably cost more than my first car. The image of a high-powered corporate attorney. Her husband Julian was riding high too. He was involved in some tech startup venture capital thing I never quite grasped. They lived in a sprawling modern glass house in Medina, the kind with heated floors and a view of the lake. Meanwhile, I was still in the Craftsman on Queen Anne Hill that Martha and I purchased in 1988 after the funeral. Sophie had pushed hard for me to sell. "It's a money pit, Dad, too many stairs." But I couldn't do it. Martha was still there. Her easel, her sheet music, her collection of ceramic owls. I couldn't leave her behind. The ride across the bridge was filled with chatter. Sophie asked about my poker night, my blood pressure, if I was eating enough vegetables, standard concerned offspring. Questions, but it felt scripted, like she was rehearsing for a role. Tranquil Waters was located in a renovated historic mansion. The air inside was heavy with lemongrass and ambient chimes. Everything was white marble and slate gray, designed to aggressively relax you. The receptionist looked up with a dazzling smile. A young woman, maybe 25, with sharp features and a name tag that read Elena. "Good morning. You must be the Pendletons. We have the VIP suite prepared for you both." Sophie whipped out her platinum card before I could even reach for my wallet. Like I said, Dad, on me. While Sophie filled out the intake forms, I drifted over to a sculpture in the corner. Abstract metal twisted like driftwood. "Mr. Pendleton?" I spun around. Elena was standing right beside me, uncomfortably close. Her voice was a hushed thread of sound. "Yes. Can you please look at this brochure for a second? I need to verify something." Sophie was still occupied at the counter, laughing at something another employee said. Elena guided me slightly behind a decorative pillar, away from the main line of sight. "I could lose my job for this," she whispered, her eyes darting toward the front desk. "But please, sir, do not sign a single piece of paper your daughter hands you today. Absolutely nothing." My blood ran cold. "Excuse me?" "My Nana," Elena said, the words tumbling out fast and low. Same exact scenario. Her son took her to a resort, then a fancy lunch, always asking for signatures. Just updating medical records. Mom, just insurance waivers. Mom. By the time we caught on, he had power of attorney. She lost her apartment. She lost everything. I stared at this girl, this stranger accusing my Sophie, my little girl, of being a predator. "You must be mistaken," I stammered, though the denial felt weak in my throat. "Maybe," Elena said. "Maybe I am crazy. I hope I am. But I've been here 8 months. I've seen this play out 3 times. It's a pattern. Adult child, aging parent, luxury distraction, then the legal documents. The crooked lawyers know which places have notaries on staff, which ones offer private rooms." She checked the lobby again. "Your daughter called yesterday." She didn't ask about the massage oils. She asked if our notary was working today. She asked for the soundproof consultation suite. She asked when the lobby is empty. My hands began to tremble. "I am so sorry," Elena said. "Please just be vigilant, Mr. Pendleton. Everything all right over there?" Sophie's voice sliced through the air. I turned. She was standing by the pillar, her perfectly groomed face masked in concern. "Yes," I said, the word tasting like ash. "Just asking about the sauna temperature." "Right this way," Elena chirped, her voice suddenly professional and loud. She gave me one final desperate glance before retreating to her station. The massage was agonizing. I lay face down in the dark, muscles coiled tight, mind spinning. This was ludicrous. Sophie wouldn't. But then I replayed the last few years. The random calls only when she needed a loan. The aggressive push to sell my home. Her intense curiosity about Martha's life insurance settlement. The way she demanded I update my will immediately after the funeral, steering me toward her own estate attorney. "No, stop it. She is your flesh and blood. She loves you." But Martha's voice whispered in my memory. One of our final nights when the pain meds loosened her filter. "I worry about Sophie and that husband of hers. They live too loud, Arthur. Always chasing the next high. Promise me you'll protect the house. Don't let them bully you." I had dismissed it as delirium. But what if it was clarity? After the massage, we had a 30-minute intermission before the facials. Sophie led me to the Serenity Lounge, a private room with plush recliners and herbal tea. In the corner sat a heavy oak desk with a stack of documents organized in a neat pile. "I'll go grab us some cucumber water," Sophie said. "Relax, Dad." "Okay." The moment the door clicked shut, I bolted upright. My instinct took over before my brain could process. I ignored the documents. I went straight for the hallway past the treatment rooms. The fire exit was marked with a glowing green sign. I shoved the bar and stumbled out into the alley behind the building. The November rain hit me instantly. I was still wearing the white spa robe over my trousers and shirt. I must have looked like a dementia patient escaping a facility, but I didn't care. I power-walked to the main road, fumbled for my phone, and summoned a rideshare. My fingers shook so violently I had to type my address twice. The driver didn't say a word, though he kept eyeing my robe in the rearview mirror. I tipped him $20 and ran into my house, locking the deadbolt as if Sophie were right on my heels. I collapsed into Martha's reading chair, gasping for air. My phone vibrated. "Sophie." "Dad, where did you go?" "Are you sick?" I stared at the screen. What was the play here? "Sorry, bad reaction to the oil. Came home." She typed, stopped, typed again. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I'm coming over right now. I'm worried." No, I needed space. I needed to know if Elena was a savior, or if I was losing my grip on reality. "No need, just need sleep. We talk tomorrow." I muted the phone and sat in the dim light of the living room. What was happening? This was Sophie, the girl I taught to swim at Coleman Pool, the girl who sobbed when her hamster died, the woman who read the eulogy for Martha with such poise that the whole congregation was moved. But she was also the Sophie who borrowed 10 grand 4 years ago and never mentioned it again. The Sophie who begged me to co-sign a loan for Julian's guaranteed investment that evaporated. I stood up and walked into Martha's study. We had converted the guest room years ago. Since she passed, I hadn't moved a single paperclip. Martha was the archivist of our lives. Every tax return, every policy, every receipt. I began pulling files, scattering them across the rug. The deed, it was in both our names. But then I unearthed a manila envelope tucked inside an old architectural digest, a trust agreement dated 2019. 4 months before she died, Martha had moved her half of the property into an irrevocable trust. The beneficiary was me, but the successor trustee wasn't Sophie. It was my nephew Brian in Portland. There was a note attached, Martha's jagged handwriting. "Arthur, if you are reading this, I am gone. Please forgive me for doing this in secret. Sophie called me last week. She and Julian are in deep. Gambling debts, I think, or bad investments. She wanted us to take a second mortgage to bail them out. She framed it as helping us downsize, but I heard the panic in her voice. I love our daughter, but I know she is weak when Julian pushes her. This house is your sanctuary. I won't let them strip it from you, even if they mean well, even if she is blind to her own actions. I love you. Stand tall, M." I sank to the floor. Martha knew. She saw the rot I refused to acknowledge. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Pendleton. This is Detective Rossi with the Seattle Police Department, Financial Crimes Division. I'm Elena's cousin. She told me what happened at the spa. I know this is a shock, but I need to speak with you regarding your daughter. My stomach dropped. A detective? Julian Vance, your son-in-law, is the primary target of a federal investigation. Wire fraud, Ponzi scheme elements. We believe your daughter is an active participant. We've had them under surveillance for 5 months. The trip today, the notary, that was their endgame to liquidate your assets before we froze theirs. I couldn't inhale. How many people? 19 families so far. Roughly $3 million in damages. Mr. Pendleton, I have to ask, has she presented you with any documents recently? Maybe masked as administrative updates? I racked my brain. The pension update. Yes, I whispered. 3 weeks ago. Beneficiary updates for my retirement fund. She said it was standard protocol after Martha's passing. Did you sign them? I think so. Silence on the line. Mr. Pendleton, those weren't beneficiary forms. Based on the evidence we seized from their trash, they were applications for a home equity line of credit. Your signature authorized a draw of $400,000. The room spun. Impossible. I would never. They disguise the header pages. It's a classic technique. They target the elderly, usually family, leverage the trust, and slip the real contract under a dummy cover sheet. Betrayal never comes from your enemies. It only comes from those you trust. But Sophie, she's my child, and that is exactly why it works. Who audits their own kid? I sat in the ruins of Martha's office, surrounded by her protection, feeling my universe dissolve. What happens now? I asked. We need you to come in for a formal statement, and if you are willing, we need you to wear a wire. Sophie will contact you. She needs to verify why you ran. We need her to verbally confirm the nature of those documents and Julian's role. You want me to entrap my daughter? I want to stop her before she bankrupts a 20th family, Rossi said firmly. Right now she's looking at conspiracy and elder fraud, but if she cooperates, if we can prove she was coerced, or if she flips on Julian, it changes the sentencing guidelines. Help us and you might be helping her in the long run. I thought about Martha's letter. I thought about 19 families. When? I asked. Tomorrow morning. She'll come to check on you. She has to. I didn't sleep. I paced the hallway, touching the photos on the wall. Sophie at graduation. Sophie at her wedding, smiling up at Julian. When did the corruption start? Or was I just looking at the pictures I wanted to see? The doorbell rang at 9 a.m. Sophie stood there, holding a bag from the local bakery. Dad, you really scared me yesterday. I brought those scones you like. She held up the bag, but her eyes were scanning the room behind me. The recording device was taped to my sternum. Rossi was in a van down the street. Come in, I said. Sophie breezed into the kitchen, acting the part of the doting daughter. She started boiling water for tea. I'm so sorry about the spa. Maybe the oils were too strong. Yes, I said carefully. Shame. I was wondering what we were going to do next. Sophie paused, a kettle in hand. What do you mean? The receptionist mentioned you reserved the notary room. I was curious. Her smile flickered like a glitch on a screen. Oh, that? Yeah, I thought since we were relaxing, we could just handle some boring paperwork. Just tidying up the estate stuff. Mom would have wanted us organized. What kind of paperwork? Just updating the will, verifying the trust. And Julian found this amazing bond opportunity. Very low risk, but we have to move fast. And Sophie, I kept my voice flat. Tell me about the pension forms I signed last month. She went perfectly still. What about them? Were they actually pension forms? Of course, Dad, why would you ask that? Because a Detective Rossi called me. She says those were loan applications. $400,000 against this house. The color drained from her face, leaving her gray. Then the shock morphed into rage. A detective called you? You talked to the cops? About Julian? About what you two are doing. About the fraud. She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. This is ridiculous. Dad, have you been taking your pills? You sound paranoid. Don't let your age get to you. Don't, I snapped. Do not gaslight me. Your mother warned me about this. Warned you? How? The letter she left with the trust. The trust that locks this house up where you can't sell it. Sophie's face contorted, shock, calculation, then defeat. She did what? She put the house in a trust. Without telling me? She was protecting me from you. From me? Sophie screamed. Dad, I am doing this for us. You have no idea the pressure we are under. Julian's firm collapsed. We owe people money. Dangerous people. 19 families, Sophie. That's what the police said. She stopped breathing. 19? They know everything. They know about the notary. They know about the scams. She slumped into a kitchen chair, head in her hands. You don't understand. It spiraled. We just needed a bridge loan, then another. We were going to pay it all back. With my house? With my life savings? It was going to be mine eventually anyway, she shouted. We were just accessing it early. Dad, please, if I don't get that money, Julian goes to prison. Julian is going to prison regardless, Sophie. And so are you. Unless you help them. She looked up, eyes swimming with tears. For a second, I saw the toddler who scraped her knee. What do I do? You tell the truth. You help them find the assets. You try to redeem yourself. And then? And then you face the consequences. She stared at me, and I watched the choice form behind her eyes. Her expression hardened into ice. You're wearing a wire, aren't you? I said nothing. Sophie stood up, grabbing her purse. I should have guessed. You always chose Mom. You always chose your precious integrity over your own family. Even now, I am choosing not to be a victim. Good for you, Dad. Enjoy your moral high ground. Enjoy dying alone in this museum of a house. She marched to the door, then whipped around. You want to know why? Because when Mom got sick, you shut me out. You told me to focus on work. You didn't let me help. I was in San Francisco when she took her last breath, because you said, don't come yet. You abandoned me first. The door slammed, shaking the frame. I stood in the silent kitchen, the wire burning against my skin. She wasn't entirely wrong. We had shielded her from the ugly end of the cancer, thinking it was kindness. Maybe it was just control. But that didn't excuse the theft. It didn't excuse the 19 destroyed lives. Detective Rossi knocked 10 minutes later. We have it, it's enough. Patrol cars picked up Julian at his office. We're arresting Sophie now. What happens to her? Depends on her cooperation. If she gives us the accounts, testifies against Julian, maybe 3 years. If not, 15. 3 years, I murmured. My little girl. Mr. Pendleton, Rossi said softly, you did the only thing you could do. After they left, the house felt cavernous. I wandered into the living room and sat at Martha's Steinway piano. I hadn't played in years. I pressed a single key. The note rang out, stark and lonely in the empty room. Sometimes the hardest truth is the one that breaks your own heart. Martha had kept it tuned, always waiting for me to play again. I thought about Sophie's final words, about the choices we make and the ones made for us.